finances. And a footnote to this whole thing, Tam, is quite simply that I think the biggest job in the summer, although, as we're about to talk about Rangers and their match against Hearts, although Philippe Clement will have a major rebuilding and looking to bring in his own players, which I think he deserves that time and space. Brendan Rodgers, there must be a discussion where he said, look, if we're going to recruit in the summer, it has to be players of a certain calibre. I don't think they'll get away with this same project that they've been pushing since 2003. I think they've got to look and say there needs to be some kind of competition where they can at least maybe stand toe-to-toe with teams who are in the second, third and fourth pots in the group, wherever they get. You know, they can't go through another season, you know, getting spanked at home.
You'd like to think so, Peter. I think we've said this at the end of the last few seasons, but in terms of Celtic, you know, are they going to go and strengthen? Are they going to go and spend the money?
Ruffy and I have been saying it since 2003.
I mean, well, you've been saying it probably longer than me, but every year Celtic will get 30 million last year, whatever it was, and then this season 60 million. You know, there's a real opportunity for them to go and pull well clear of Rangers. You know, and the Celtic fans will be imploring the board to do that and give Brendan money. I'm not so sure they're going to do it again, Peter. I think they'll sign a couple of players. But if you think they're going to go out and sign somebody at 7-8 million, I don't think it's going to happen. And that's the players that you're talking about that's going to get you maybe second place, maybe third place, Europa League, and then you can stay in Europe after Christmas. We just have to wait and see, but I don't think they will, Pierre.
Interesting, Ruffy, because they're automatically in the group stages of the Champions League. So you're waiting to see what pot they eventually go in. The coefficient is absolutely of paramount importance to Scottish clubs coming into next season, because the season after this one, we've dropped out of the top 10. The Czech Republic's in there. So that's why I'm hoping a Hearts, you know, a Kilmarnock, a St Mirren can offer something as well as Celtic and Rangers, and every point you get in those group stages. And Rangers, we want to get to the group stages of the Champions League, so we'll get two clubs playing in the top flight.
Well, the Rangers and Celtic have been in Europe every year, but I think it's Rangers that have accumulated most of the coefficient points with them getting quite far in the European tournament. So it is the disappointing teams have been the other teams apart from Rangers and Celtic who go in and play a couple of games, get knocked out, and all these other teams from the other countries, they're masking up points, so we're falling further and further behind. The thing I hate in European football with Celtic is when they play somebody and then they get knocked out, they say, we can't compete with them.
Yeah.
You know, they've got too much money. You know, Celtic have got money. You know, it's okay saying they play. I think it was the Austrian teams that were playing and saying, I know they're backed by Red Bull and all that.
I think that's a spin, Ruffy, that they've sold a story to some people for long and weary, and now Celtic fans are sick and tired of it. They're saying, no.
Yeah, I know, because all of a sudden, every time it's in the media, Celtic are quite happy to tell you how much money they've got. They're quite happy to stack it up to 100 and 110, 120. So I think now the supporters are more than happy to travel about Europe and playing games, but they're not wanting to be spanked. They're not wanting to be no qualifying. They want to be seen a bit better. So I think the pressure is on the board or Brendan or whatever. Somebody's got to call the shots.
Yeah, and that brings us on to the Rangers predicament before we talk about the game, Lee, because I think it's a huge summer for Philippe Clement, because I also think it's a huge summer for the board, because if you look at the potential earnings of Celtic, you know, with the additional money they've got in the bank, you know, it's 3 in a row now. I can see this Celtic side going on another major run unless Rangers suddenly pull a rabbit out of the hat and get investment to get to them, you know, to give them a real fighting chance.
I think there's probably investment needed. I think it's a big summer for the board. I think they will back the manager, but it's how strongly can they back the manager. I think there will be a big turnover of players, which won't be easy going into next season. And then you look at the other side of the city where Celtic have got all the money and haven't really had a right go in previous transfer windows. That's what we're talking about. I think there's more pressure on the Celtic board, believe it or not, to go and back the manager to get 3 or 4 or 5 players in, because if you remember when Brendan first came in, we're saying he's going to get backed. He's not really been backed.
No.
And he's had a bit of stick this season. I can see Brendan saying, I need to get my own players in, 4 or 5 first team ready players in. That's what I'm thinking.
How many do you think Rangers need?
Signings? I think quite a few. I think quite a few, to be honest. I think when the managers come in out and saying it's the end of a cycle, that would suggest to you that the players that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years could possibly get moved on.
Tam, what did you make of that performance? It kind of summed up Rangers' season in one game, 3-1 up and let it slip.
Yeah, they did, Peter, and they dominated the game for large parts. You know, I watched the highlights. You know, Rangers could have scored 5, 6, 7 goals. You know, they created a lot of opportunities. Hearts broke up the park once. You know, Shanklin gets through and scores. But Rangers come back just after half time, go 2-1 up, go 3-1 up. Then you think they're going to see the game out. You know, and get into next week. We added confidence, and to lose the 2 late goals, particularly one the last kick of the ball, basically. No ball came in. It's a great finish, and gets Hearts a point. But I think he'll be disappointed with the result, Peter, and it just adds to the pressure. You know, I think I read something where they've picked 15 points up for the last 10 games or something. You know, they've not a good end to the season. And when you look at Celtic on the other side, flip side of that, they've sprinted through the line in terms of the league title. Rangers are limping to the end of the season, and it doesn't all go well for the final at the weekend.
Well, you say that. Philippe Clement reckons that there's a big performance at Hampden coming up.
Because in one game everything is possible. In the 3 games we played against them, when I was here, we have a draw. We lose 2 times 2-1 at Celtic Park, where we played with 10, a big part of the game. So it was every time really tight. And I know my players are going to go full in this last game to give the fans something extra, something special. So that's why I believe in it.
Yeah, and he'll be hoping some of the players that have been injured, I mean, Tom Lawrence, Matondo, Suter, Balogun and Barisic, he wants to be able to pick from the biggest squad for this game.
Yeah, he's been unlucky the past maybe month with the run into the season, the run into the domestic season. He has had injuries, but again, that you need to deal with this. You need to deal with this. You've got a big squad that it's tested the strength and depth of the squad with the injuries, but getting in now to the most important game of the season, which is the next one, the cup final, he'll, as you say, he'll want as many people to pick for as possible.
Ruffy, when I look at the overall performance of Rangers this season, 7 defeats, 4 draws, and still they made a go of it, and that gives you a fair indication of the problems that Celtic have had, that we've had a title race with a club that's had 7 defeats and 4 draws in Rangers.
Yeah, I think both of them, the managers, particularly the Rangers manager, has every right to say that he has lost a lot of crucial players, influential players. You know, that if they were all fit, you can see him being a manager going, well, if I had they 4 in my team, would be better. And it was only 2-1, so you would think we would play better. But they're not there. They're not going to be there. You know, I think he's just trying to be really positive, which a good manager should do. You know, he's trying to make the players believe that they can do it. He's trying to make the fans believe that they can do it. He's just believing. There's no evidence that they are going to do it, but he's quite right in hanging into a one-off game where we all know that anything can happen on a day.
Yeah, if anything, you know, most of the Rangers fans that I speak to who watch games and have watched them over a long, long period of time, Tam, these are guys who watch football, love their club, but know football. And they're not going to be fooled by badge kissers and people who are letting everybody see the back of their shirt. Win something, play for the jersey, and give it your all and graft. I mean, this man was able to do that on more than a few occasions. You know, go out and win titles. None of this gesticulating when it's a meaningless game.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of players in particular, Cantwell and Silver, who seem to be getting the brunt of it with the Rangers supporters at the minute. I'm not on Instagram, posting stuff on Instagram. You know, and listen, players are entitled to have social media and stuff, but I just think that now's the time for Rangers to batten down the hatches in terms of players. Just nothing on social media. Don't open your mouth. Just try and stay under the radar and do your talking on the pitch. That's what Celtic do. Callum McGregor, guys like that, they do it every year. Every year they do it on the pitch, Peter. There's nothing on social media. And the Rangers fans, you're right, they're not going to get fooled. And they're missing guys like Lee McCulloch, Barry Ferguson, you know, Al McGregor. You're missing that, I don't know, that dig, that core, the leaders in the team. And that's why I think Celtic win again at the weekend. I just think Celtic know how to beat Rangers. You know, that they'll get into the game confident. Even if they go a goal down, they'll still think they can come back and win. Rangers, for me, I've not got that at the minute in that squad.